Ba, 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 ba. Yes. Welcome
Hey everyone.
Hello.
to a Scrimba stream. Another one. Yes, not on a Wednesday or a Friday or even a Monday, as we historically did. No, now a Tuesday stream for the very first time ever. Exciting. But why? I hear you cry. Because Michael and I are here to learn from Matthias. Imba. I nearly said Scrimba then, but we're learning. Imba.
Yes.
What is Imba? I hear you cry. Well, let's take a look. Because we are launching a brand new course today, all about it. Yeah. These are the Imba docs, which I did not design. You would be excused for thinking so with this beautiful gradient. But no, yes, you can read all about the wonderful, friendly, full stack language, which is Imba. Over here, dropping into the chat. N. But here is even more exciting news, which is the Learn Imba course. 2 hours of Imba goodness. Yeah. Yeah. By the end of this course, you will have learned all of these awesome things: basic Imba syntax, conditionals, functionals, inline styles, Imba's powerful styling capabilities. You will enjoy this, Michael, as someone who doesn't
I know.
have
The
the best
less
relationship
time
with CSS.
I spend with CSS, the better.
Yeah.
For everyone involved.
And it's all inside Imba itself. So I think you will enjoy it. And you get to build, I know, this dopamine box app, which is a mood and daily activity tracker.
There you go. I mean, you will be learning Imba in Scrimba that is built in Imba.
Yeah.
You know?
Love it. Love it.
Nuts.
Yes. So for a bit of context, I'd like to introduce Matthias. Matthias is a developer behind the scenes, well, now in front of the scenes at Scrimba, working with Imba. So Matthias will be guiding us today as we take our very first steps in Imba.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I've been able to watch several of these, but not participate. So I'm really excited to be here. And also, what an exciting day launching the very meta Imba on Scrimba in Imba course.
That's what we should have called it. Yes. Yes, it is free, I think. Yes. I hope so. That's what we've been talking about. Another language to link to my LinkedIn and Discord. Totally. Yeah. I didn't know about that language, says Pedro. Yes, you're not the only one, but believe me, it will be the start of something big. Yes. So how are we going to do this then, gentlemen?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different options. There's the course itself, but I think that's a great thing to kind of do at your own pace. Of course, that's interactive, so you can kind of play around with it. Then we have the docs, which I updated very recently, earlier today, and everything should be working, at least in the kind of getting started part. So that would probably be a good starting point for us. And then because Imba is transpiled to JavaScript and it's very much just a language of the web, I think it could be really fun for us after we've gone through some of it to see if we can maybe pick one of the small projects that you've made in the past and see if we can make it Imba, make it imbalanced, overpowered.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Let's talk a bit about the docs because they have received high praise already, actually, in that they're very clear and readable and easy to understand.
Yeah, they have this kind of hidden feature that I think we need to draw more attention to, which they have this you know the first time you use Scrimba and you get that magical feeling of like, oh, I am editing code inside the video.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can recreate that feeling. So if you scroll down just a little bit, and then we see here's an example of a paint demo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to click inside the draw here,
Yes.
the draw here. Yep,
Oh, right.
there.
Ooh.
And you can pick different colors, you can pick different things, but then the really crazy part is if you try to actually drag the window, because it is an app that lives inside of this website. Yeah,
Wow.
Nice.
so we can keep doing that if you keep scrolling down to take a look
More
at.
stuff.
So this is a full Hacker News clone, and the files you can see kind of in the background there. So you can click around in here. You can technically like log in or upvote or whatever you want, and all the files
yeah.
are right there. So you have like the app because it's full stack, so you can like serve it from Express, and then you have the components and the client itself. So it's I don't think those are interactive, but you can drag them around anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's
that.
not that many lines to make some analog virtual analog clocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know from streaming experience that that's not as easy as people may think.
Indeed.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Ah,
Lovely dogs.
nice.
Michael's having a scribble there with the Paint app as well.
Yeah, so it's like I am a complete noob.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not gonna lie, I've never written a single line of Imba.
Me neither.
Despite working for Scrimba, never written anything in it.
Yeah.
So partly we'll also use this stream to basically see how long would it take someone who's never written anything in it to actually write something and make something happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That something is currently vague, but
yeah, that's something that's currently vague. I suppose like I'll be the guinea pig. So let's just share my screen and I'll just walk through.
Okay.
What would I normally do when I try to get set up something or use something? So basically, first thing first, I'll land into the docs, Imba, and I'll go for how to get set up. So there is, okay, oh, there you go. So there is npx Imba create hello world.
Yep.
Awesome. So npx basically means that I don't even need to download any packages. Like I don't need to install it from npm as a global variable. So it basically just executes it.
Yeah, so it'll do it behind the scenes, npx, but you won't need to manage it. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Ooh, well, I'm like, ooh, what else is there? You know?
Yeah, we definitely need to. We need to. So that's maybe npx that has some trouble with that. But yeah, we need to update the CLI to make it a little bit easier to get help.
Fair enough. Okay, awesome. In that case, I'll just paste that, create. Yep, so let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
One of the really nice things for me is that usually there's so much build process, and we'll probably want to go
Electron template. Ooh, so I can write desktop apps and
yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
I also made one for Towery, so you get a smaller Rust-based
configure Jace package JSON.
Yeah, you'll have to, or I suppose you don't have to, but yeah, we can do that. So this is So I think we probably use a package for this. So you can just type and the
this is
line.
Interactive.
Yeah, so the line is where you can fill it in.
Well, okay, so that's my name on there. Description. Learning Ember. Oh, this is pretty cool. There we are. It even creates like pretty much fills it up for me. It's good to create project.
So that's the final confirmation.
So you're basically gonna create it in the home folder. Well, yeah, because I've done it. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that.
So it's all
let's install it.
It's all npm and all just what you would regularly do for anything like full stack JavaScript.
Okay. I can't see the last line. Oops. Okay, there we are. So now, let's see. What do I have here? Ooh, well, look at that. It's already created a README file for me.
Hmm.
Quite handy. There is a map.
What does the README say?
Let me just quickly zoom in on my VS Code. Should have done that before. Okay.
Jean Loren says, Electron? Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. Anna says, time to make the color scheme generator. Yes. Again, but even better, send it my way when you do.
Okay. So we basically have an app. Server Imba. Oh, look at that. So
Yep.
marketplace to extend. So search marketplace to install Imba
Yeah.
extension.
So that tooling
One.
is right there in
Perfect.
the
Let's install
VS
that.
Code Marketplace.
Look at that. I don't need to read anything, debug anything, and just follow prompts.
Yeah.
That's my favorite type of coding.
How does this compare to other languages you've got started with?
Well, it depends on the language. I remember when I tried to learn Haskell. It was hard to get started with it. Some languages are easier to start than others. So, okay, so for example, Imba server.imba file. So I just for some reason going from the bottom. I can see that it basically imports Express, fairly straightforward, imports index.html, fairly straightforward, and then it says const app equals Express exclamation mark.
Yeah, so the exclamation mark is interchangeable with open close parentheses, and in some cases it can be expressive, I suppose, to shorten that down. So it's one less thing you have to type, and it's a bit easier to pick out. But it's
So
kind of
it's
up to
basically
you.
like,
Yep.
I want to call a function, so you say,
Yeah.
with a okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Oh,
So
okay.
we'll cover a lot of these as we go through the documentation, but really, Imba strives to be as fast to do something in as possible. And so a lot of what you'll see is that, you can kind of use it like TypeScript or like JavaScript, but really, if you get into it a little bit more, use some of the shorthands, use some of the conventions and the more terse way of writing, you'll really feel like you're just getting more done in less time, and it's nice to read as well.
Well, let me be a judge of that.
Yes, I am making a lot of claims here. Kind of biased, but
yeah. But yeah, I can see that. There's basically a catch-all root returns index.html. So you can actually use the standard regex into your get, and then there's basically okay. So there's do.
that replaces function.
Really?
Yeah, so the function keyword in JavaScript. So it's shorter. It's
Okay, I see. And it's tab-based language, so there will be no parentheses like this.
Correct.
So you will basically, it's all white space based like Python, Ruby, right? Ruby's.
Yeah. The inventor of this language, Sindre, he came from Ruby, and so the initial thing that he was trying to do was to make Ruby run in the browser, to make it run on the web, and then from that he discovered a lot of things that really, you have the logic, you have the styling, and you have the markup or the content. But really, if you're going to make anything that does more than something trivial, you'll want to combine all three of those. And so I think that's really the key takeaway to consider this language, is that you get to write for the web instead of writing like a standalone language. So we can kind of reach out and do things with styling and with markup and with logic. And so this is the server. And so here we're really only seeing the logic. And so we're like exploring the syntax. But in the client that we'll get into later, we can see that there's going to be both CSS and markup in the same file with no JSX or anything like that. It's a core part of the language itself, first-class citizen support for CSS and markup.
Okay. I can see that basically all the building blocks that you normally would get from Express, they're kind of just there. So the concept of middleware, request, response body, and like presumably you can also write like next and
Yep.
so on to tag along whatever you want.
Absolutely.
And basically that it's all just standard Express.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And really being able to lean on the whole npm ecosystem and everything front end and back end is a big part of why it's so efficient to create something in.
Cool. Okay.
The
So-
inventor of Ember is in the chat.
Way.
Shout out to Sindra saying, please switch to the Ember Dark theme. What?
Ember Dark theme.
Yeah,
Is that a joke?
I forgot to mention.
There actually is one.
There was a prompt when you
Yeah.
when you install the plugin, and so if you go to VS Code and you change your theme, then the Imba Dark theme will highlight more keywords. So if you do Command Shift P and then
worth knowing.
Like Imba somewhere in here.
I think if you try Command Shift P and then theme, and then we set the color theme and then Imba Dark.
Imba Dark. So
Yeah.
I have to switch it to the proprietary theme as well.
Yes.
It's like
is
there you go.
mandatory.
Maybe someone in the chat would like to create some additional VS Code themes.
there you go.
Because it's
Everything.
all open source.
Yeah, everything. It's like
Beautiful.
there you go. Extensions, theme, everything. Okay. Cool. And tabs versus space is also picked for me. Which is
Yes,
handy.
no bike shedding. It
Yeah,
is
exactly.
just already chosen.
Cool. Okay, so
Of
and then
course.
basically response, send, and I can see that it's not passed
Yeah,
around like that.
you can do that if you like, but
You can, okay.
spaces can make it really comfortable to read.
Yeah, so it's
And-
kind of very functionally languagey type of thing.
Yeah, and
Something from Haskell, as you can see.
I think it's in Ruby as well.
Yeah, wow.
It reads very sentence-like. But if you look at line 7, I think, on the app.get, there's actually something going on here too, but this is slightly different. If you see, the function is after the parentheses closes.
Yeah.
And really what's happening there is that if you have a function as the last argument to what you're calling, then you can just append the beginning of a function there and just type it out. And so Scrimba or Imba does a lot of these really comfortable things that make it easy to read through, because if you imagine the parentheses being on the outside, that would wrap along the whole thing. You would need a comma in between.
So you would need to
exactly
do it like this, and presumably
the comma there, and that makes the regex a bit harder to read as well. There's like a lot of like dots going on. So, and what this also does is that there's very little difference between the way it used to be, and if you just remove the parentheses altogether and have the comma there instead. So we could pass multiple arguments into the get function by removing the 2 parentheses and having a comma in between. So
removing
removing that and removing that one, and then having a space after the get. And so this would work the same way. Here it's actually the second argument, right? But it can read quite well to like wrap things that way.
Right.
So
what if I want to pass like another function or something?
Yeah, we can. There's actually a really cool example that I can show you with that later. There's a special case for it, especially with you know how set timeout and set interval, it kind of feels like it's in the wrong order sometimes. You want to say how long and then the function, but you always have to pass the function first, then how long, and it kind of gets weird with like, oh, like several lines down, there's a comma and then like the number. And so we have a pretty clever way to do that. So let's take a look at that later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose in that case, we should build the clock, the analog clock.
Yeah.
I suppose we should.
Probably has a lot of intervals, yeah.
So, and then obviously because the app is imported from index.html, I'd like to have a look. So HTML, fairly straightforward. You just import the source is instead of your JavaScript, you just say client Imba. And then client Imba is basically okay. So we can see like some kind of, it's basically like, your HTML, but not quite. So you do have the CSS,
Mhm.
basically that says global CSS. Oh, okay, so it's basically like component based in some way.
So in this case, it is actually global. And so if you
Yeah.
remove the global, that would scope it to the file. And you can think of it as indent based in terms of scope. So we could put it in the file, we could put it in the tag, which
Yeah.
has to web component. We can put it within kind of within one of the tags in the element tree. Like we
Mhm.
could put it within the header, and then it wouldn't affect anything
Mhm.
outside of the header, for example. And so that's up to us. But in this case, to keep it simple, that's an example of how to set the font for any file. As long as this client file is imported anywhere in your project, it's not like excluded from the bundle.
Mhm.
That global will affect everything, which sometimes good, sometimes not so good. But here,
Cool.
it's nice for simplicity.
Okay. And then basically tag. Oh, okay, so everything is an HTML tag. So obviously you just create another tag. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a really interesting thing that comes after a little bit of a little while using Imba is that really it's a language, yes, but you're working directly with the web. And so
Yeah.
in many cases, let's say in a framework, you would build up some component, or you would build up a container, or you would like kind of reason about things in terms of the framework. But here we're really reasoning about the web itself. And so tag is a way to say a web component. And so we get to create a web component here.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And it's basically your straightforward HTML. So I can see that there are brackets. That's kind of how you specify. That looks like CSS.
Yep.
And obviously these are just native SVG tags, with like props and stuff that you pass in. So the link to a logo, and then here's an href or an anchor tag. So I see that you only open them. So I don't have to close anything. There is nothing on the end. It's not
wow.
self-closing like that. So you basically just open it, and it does the rest for you.
Yeah, you could almost say it's imbalanced.
Yes, it kind of is.
It's nice though, because when you get, for example, you've got a paragraph which has got a link in it and a strong in it and various other things, and then you end up with the two tags this far apart, and it's just basically a mess. This is nice. But I have one question. So FF is font family. How do you change the font color?
Yeah, so if you hover over FF, then the tooling should tell you, does not tell you. So when you type something out in shorthand, so in this case font family, then it'll tell you what the actual CSS for it is. But really, you could say that having these abbreviated things, or it becomes too short. So like one variable, letter variable is a bad thing. But CSS never changes, right? It always stays the same, or you add to it in new versions. And so font family is always going to be font family. And so for that, we could just write FF instead. But it doesn't quite look like the tooling is working. Maybe we can just save that file, close down VS Code, open it back up again and see. Maybe it got a bit confused with the setting of the theme or something like that. But it really should tell you on hover what the CSS is.
That's what Sindra says. There should be completions there.
Yep.
Shocked face.
I agree.
I think
We're having some TypeScript issues. Cool. So let's see. I reckon it may be either the version of VS Code or the version of TypeScript, which is then bundled into VS Code. So I reckon that's probably what we're seeing here.
I think it's mostly, I think it's probably just my VS Code setup, because I very rarely actually write anything on my personal laptop. But we can just jump into, like, normally, if I wanted to just play around with Imba, I would go to Scrimba.
Seamless segue there.
So these puns will never get tired.
Speaking of Ember, Anna tells us, fun fact, in Polish, Ember means a crazy party or a crazy situation.
So just keep keeps being adequate, good, like additional meanings for this word. Love it. Yeah, so this is the starting point if you create a new scrim. So
I love the
not
colours.
really a video, a magical video. And so we can just paste in what we had in the other one if you like, or we can continue with this one.
We can just continue with this one. So if I wanted to, okay, Dan, so help me out with this one. If I wanted to build a clock, well, where do I start with this?
Crikey, Michael. Well,
How do you make a div round?
Is the JavaScript clock we attempted to make last time. Yes, or well, rather that here it is.
Yes.
So perhaps we could base it off of this. And this is
Yeah.
the live stream to us doing that and realizing it was actually quite difficult. So to answer your question, we want border radius 50% to start.
Okay.
BR 50, maybe. Don't know.
So
okay, so I'll just remove everything here, yeah.
Then you want a div.
So I just want a div.
Mhm.
Div like this.
So I think you cut one line too many there. So if you see there's a self, so that we've been discussing this a little bit, but essentially the tag needs to know what it is. And so we're giving it a starting point with self. And so that's kind of the styling for the web component itself. But for example, you could have the tag inherit from a different web component. So maybe you wanted to inherit from button in order to make a new thing that like has everything that the button has, but you want to do more. So what we can do is we can just keep the self part, and then you can do everything within that part. And it's common in Imba to just type out the CSS as you kind of think of it on either within the tag that we are for that scope, or on the element itself. But we could also do it the regular way, where you just define a class and then we set the class on the element.
So if you're more comfortable, I basically do it this way, well, through square brackets, or I can just say CSS. Kind of like the way I read this is here's the CSS declaration to all div elements below. Apply this.
Yep.
Okay, and then basically I just write my HTML and their individual CSS colors. Okay, so if I want to then just create a clock, I'll probably reuse that. So display flex, justify. Oh, sorry, was it just line?
It says JA.
JA.
So it justify a line. Is that justify content and align items?
We have several of these very dense ways to do very common things, which means that it becomes very fast to do the common
That
ones.
is nice.
Okay, so CSS straight to the docs. That's what I'm going to do. CSS variable, data types, class fields.
Yeah. So if you, for example, so MDN is available on this search as well, because really Imba is the web. And so if you type something that where you get the MDN reference, you would get that. But in this case, we could try typing either shorthand or maybe JA or align, something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
CSS property JA. Okay, cool.
There you go.
Why?
And I can see all of them in properties where they're actually.
Oh, no.
So JA, there we go. So that's the GA.
Nice.
So it would be JA value. Okay, so maybe JA is not the best example because I'm not super clear what JA is, but it would be justify content properly a line item.
Yeah. Let me
based on the.
I'll actually look it up so you.
Yeah, so it would be center FS. Font size. Okay, yeah, fairly straightforward. And font width. Font weight. Bold.
Yep.
Because font width doesn't exist.
No.
Well, there you go. You can tell how much of a CSS noob I am, because I think that font width is a real thing. Anyway, so we have div There we go. So, what is a div? Okay, so how do I make it round with a thing?
Yeah,
make
border
the
radius. I think it's BR.
Okay, yeah, well,
And you can definitely type it out just like regular CSS. The shorthand is just to make it a bit faster. So
I like
Oh, look.
shorthand. I think
Me
it's
too.
good.
so you can do this.
Yep.
Border radius.
50%.
50%. How do I make? Well, presumably I need border.
Yeah.
Uh,
You need a height and width on it.
okay.
We
height.
did 75 VH last time.
Okay. Ooh, okay, width. Do I need 100%?
I think you should do 75 VH.
Yeah, so another 75 each.
So there's a cool one if you try size. That would be both of those together, and so that's
Can that
another
just
one
be
that's
S?
really.
Comma. Semicolon.
So I think S is shorthand for something else that I'm blanking on at the moment.
That's all right. Not size.
Background color teal.
Oh, looks like size is just size. Oh,
Mhm.
well, that was handy. Very quick lookup.
Hmm.
Just search on the page. Done. Okay, so in that case, let me see. BR.
And you don't need the semicolons. I think
Fair enough.
really?
border maybe BD because yeah, and for border radius, I'm forgetting here. I think maybe RD.
Well,
Yeah,
if I
RD
actually
is
read the docs,
Hmm.
there are some custom properties and shorthands added in Imba
Mhm.
that are more valuable. So they are very valuable. There are also configurable design system inspired by Tailwind. I was like, oh, this feels a bit Tailwindy. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Among other things, this features non-standard values for box shadow, box border radius. So border radius is RD
Mm.
for radius. So RD. There we go. So I can now just condense all of this, presumably. Okay, there we are. Okay, that made it a circle. So now if
I think you should do background color.
okay,
BC.
Yeah, so
Teal.
it's BGC for the background color. Yeah.
Mhm.
was it teal?
Mhm.
Can I spell teal? I did.
Yeah.
I
Maybe you don't
think you
need the quotes. Yeah.
Of course, you see all my
Yes.
JavaScript habits are
Woo.
now.
We
in
have
the-
a green circle.
Whoa. Okay, cool. Then let's go for something like an arrow, I suppose. Well, how do we center this?
Yeah, so now we're working within the app tag, and that's the only thing we're mounting on the whole page.
Yeah.
And so within that, we're just creating this div that we're working with. And so that's just in the upper left corner, as you can see. But we could style the app tag itself. So on the self line there, you could, for example, add something.
So you need the JO center on
That
self,
is a good one.
I reckon. And maybe a height of 100 VH. Get the old DevTools out.
I think if you do size, then you may get both, but I feel like there's a straightforward way to do that one. Let's see.
In the meantime, I'll just.
Or try it if you have the width of 100 VW and height of 100 VH. Oh, so when you use JA, do you need to declare display flex on it then?
Right, so we did not set that, so you will need to set that. There
Okay.
you go. Yeah.
D
Nice
flex. Woo.
Whoops. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So no need for width. Yeah. Okay.
Well, not like that. But yeah.
And I realize now, of course, that we had the size set earlier, but we set it to the view height for both, like height and width. So that was just a premature optimization by me.
Oh, that's all right. Whoops.
So we could set H and V, H and W individually in order to get exactly what you wanted there.
And width.
Or I think we
Oh,
can
look,
also use
Syndra's in the
space as well.
chat. Self. Inset 0, deflex JA center. Oh.
Yes.
So what does inset 0 do then?
Hang on. Here.
Yeah, I think we'll want.
Oh, so what
Let
does
us
that?
know.
So the
Inset 0 on the self on the app tag, which is the self one, I think. No, you still need these.
Still need. What do I still need? Yeah.
JA center.
So what will inset 0 do?
I don't know what inset is.
let's
Well, that-
ask MDN. So if you type
You're
if you
right.
type inset there,
Inset.
then you'll get information about it. But then you can always tap MDN next to it to go straight to the.
Oh, top right, bottom left.
Top right, bottom left.
Do we need that then?
Oh. Inset 0 is absolutely positioned. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so we basically absolutely positioned this whole thing. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the next one would be, let's create some arrows.
Yep. Let's.
So that would
So
be
we had the clock, and then within that we had a second hand, a minute hand, and an hour hand.
okay. So if I wanted to, so I'll
Like
need
this.
3 more divs.
We also had clock center, which is this little
Clock set, like a little dot in the middle.
dot thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's create that dot. So that would be like a very central div again. So presumably I can just do BD black as well with
BG.
so like this. Yeah, BD.
It's not BD. It's BGD. Oh, BGC. Background color.
Uh-huh.
When I was starting with Imba, I usually typed out everything as regular CSS first, and then later on, when I got the suggestions to turn them into the shorthands, I learned it over time. But it's a bit much all at once, and then it becomes very comfortable over time.
Yeah.
So size 10 pixels, and then I would have.
That looks much bigger than 10 pixels.
Yes. Correct.
I don't think that's pixels. I think that's something else.
I'll have radius 50%, and so Leanne, how do I put it in the middle of the clock?
Well, that needs to be absolutely positioned, I guess. Clock center. Oh, maybe not.
Justify content. Okay, so these are just the actual values. I keep tapping into my VS Code. So in that case, I would probably do something like border radius, height. Well,
I don't know. This is, Z index 3 we did last time.
Yeah, I think that just brings it to the front.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's so on the clock we need that has position relative.
So
But
here we
where-
see an interesting thing, which is that they are all next to each other, right?
Yes.
Because this is
Mm.
all in one indentation. So if we wanted to put one within another, when you don't have any closing div, then you would indent it one time. So if you indent that so it lives within the teal one,
Mhm.
then let's see how that looks.
Mind blown.
And
Whoa. Whoa, my days.
it looks like an eye.
Okay. I was like, you know what, this indentation business, I'm not sure about it. And now I'm like, whoa, that's it. If all I need to do to center a div into another div is to indent it. Yeah, sign me up. Okay, fine. I'll give up I'll give up all the parentheses, whatever you want. Fine. Cool.
Oh, look, to answer the question of how big it is, Frodo is here. There is a custom base unit where 1 is 0.25 rems. So that is 2.5 rems high and wide, I guess. Thank you.
So when I say size over here,
yeah, you didn't give if you don't give a unit, it uses the default unit, which is, it's a very comfortable unit to use. It scales well, and it's easy to kind of reach for. Technically, you could define this in your project if you wanted to kind of redefine what the base things are, same as if you wanted to redefine gradients or things like these. But really, it's quite comfortable to just go with the defaults. They usually have they usually fit well. Similar for sizes like large or small, these kind of things also have pretty good defaults.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So what is that now? That is 1.
So 2, which is half rem. No.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah, because 1 is 0.25.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I started blanking. But yeah, yes, half rem. Give the right answer. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure now. Okay. So if I want to create an arrow,
yeah. So
what would...
we need another. Oh, just to clarify, is that on top of the teal one just because it's indented, or is there something else?
Well, so you can think of it as this has opened and closed, and then you have other content within it, and then because content within content and the elements, then that would render on top, and so kind of by default that's what we get with one indent.
Good. So copy that down and make another one.
Copy the same one?
Yeah, and then we'll just change the styling because they are just divs, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? Hello. So now instead of size 2, I guess we want height. Well, the height can still be 2. So can we just change the width? Matthias is nodding. Unexpected identifier. Yeah. So that does look like a clock hand. Maybe not that big. Now it looks like a snake's eye. Maybe.
Yeah. So how would I put them?
I think at some point we would probably want to absolute position them because it takes up space, right?
Yeah.
So I think it may make sense that both of these are absolute, that they don't affect the positioning of anything else inside.
P.A or P:(A? Absolute. And the other one? Because the other one is the long one.
POS, so POS, because P would be padding.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, presumably this one is the same. Okay, yeah. But this hour, well, the thing is that the hour hand shouldn't really be. It should be
That big. Oh, it's too big as well.
I can address the chat a bit while you're figuring that next part out. Yeah, so
Another
Imba
framework.
is not a framework, and I think that's been really refreshing for me to discover. In many ways, you could say that it feels like you're leaving the JavaScript fatigue or the framework fatigue behind when using Imba, because you're really working with the web itself rather than being many like layers of abstractions away. And it's a bit odd to say, because you're saying, okay, well, here I am using a new language. So, for example, instead of TypeScript, you're using Imba, and it transpiles into what would run in the browser. But really, you're closer to the web, in my opinion, than with any other language using Imba, because even in JavaScript, it's pretty cumbersome to interact with the web itself. And in many cases, you need to really spend time in CSS files and in HTML files. Whereas in Imba, you just spend time in Imba files. And there is no framework. There's no like big new thing in between you and the web, really, in between you and the logic, the styling, the content or the markup. And so there's no framework involved. It's just a transpiled language that directly turns into the web. So even though it looks like we're working kind of with a React component or something like that here, it really is just a web component natively supported in the browser.
Yeah. Good one. Thank you for the question. Debjit Bob Zerol says, I noticed when you resized the browser that the clock became oblong. Could you change the width and height to both be 75 VH? Which is what we had, Michael.
That was my double bad right there.
What was that? Do you change?
We can just do size 75.
Yeah. So then it'll scale with how high the browser is always, but that's fine as long as it won't be very oblong.
Cool. Okay, so now how do I make this arrow move to the side?
You had it, or maybe which side do you want it? Right or left?
Well, I don't really care.
Okay.
Make it look like an arm.
Left. 1 pixel.
I don't think so.
That looks substantially more than 1 pixel.
So this one would be, so we're saying absolute here, and with left 1, it's being 1 from the total left of the whole viewport.
Oh, of course. It's 1 pixel from the very edge.
So
so we don't want that. I'm not sure this is the way to do it.
There you go.
But then if you resize it, isn't that going to...
No, 50%. Whoa, look at that.
Centering.
Actually, that does make sense because the clock's in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes. So as long as it's always 3:15, our clock is finished. Great job.
So, okay. Whoops. What did I just do?
Back to the office. Only for this week, Debjits. This is our summit in Oslo, where we're all meeting for the first time. Apart from me and Michael, obviously. We've met before.
Yes. Okay, so I have made an hour.
Very nice.
Okay, that was quicker.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I can tell you straight away from this, it's easier to enter in divs, but you still need to know your CSS. So unfortunately, you still have to do that. Where's that button? Yeah, well, I don't know. We can't hear it, but if you can, there we go.
Yeah.
I promise to wrap it in.
We got there.
then what about the and also yellow oil? Let's get blue one. And can I do top? No, not the top.
You want to rotate it?
Yes. So presumably, okay.
Yeah.
So this will be
transform, rotate. Yeah.
rotate. Should I rotate? Yeah, rotate. Value.
Nice.
Okay. Rotate. 25.
Frodo says, "How about a guest appearance of the creator of Imba to do a speed run of making a clock?" Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'm sure Syndra's watching this. Like,
Yeah, I know. He's like, let me.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the creator of Imba would like to come in and do it, he would be very welcome.
Absolutely.
And so with, okay, so how do I rotate this? We need someone who knows CSS now.
Rotate.
How do I rotate this to be?
It's not
up there?
percent. You've just rotated it all the way around. It's
Damn it.
degrees. So like 90 or any amount of degrees, I guess. Deg. Yes.
Deg.
Now, we just need to move
Yeah.
it. I wonder if Frodo actually asked Syndra before making this offer, or he's just gone to find him now to be like, go and save them.
So
Invite on StreamYard. Oh, right. I thought he was going to come in here. Yeah, that makes sense. Invite.
yeah,
Yep, incoming.
but then, so bottom. It's not bottom 50%, is it?
It is.
Is it? Well, it doesn't look it. 4. Is it like some kind of top, bottom, height?
Have you done top?
No.
I think that has done it, but you don't need 50. You need 25, for example, because it's the point of rotation or the point of movement is one end of it.
Oh, I see. Right. So I'll probably just make it a bit less wide. No.
I think it should be 1 pixel wide.
Okay. Right. So there we go. Oh.
Syndra is here. Welcome, Syndra.
Hey.
Hey,
The sound.
I'm
Oh, we don't hear Syndra though. That's a
Yeah,
shame.
watching in agony.
Oh no, now we can. Woo.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Cool.
Although we should probably try to. Oh yeah, that's all right. It shouldn't feedback too much. Okay, awesome. How are you, Sandra? How's the other room over there?
The other room is great. It's a little painful watching this, but it's a learning experience, I guess. So first of all, it looks like the tooling is crashing for you, and it was crashing for another guy here as well. So I think there's something up with the latest VS Code and the way Imba interacts with the TypeScript tools. And obviously, as you've seen, like completions are not working currently in the Scrimba editor. That's coming in the Scrimba 2, hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, so if you like, you probably, I'm not sure if you were about to give up, but
Never.
I can never give up.
No, we just finished the CSS, so I was like, oh, thank God, this now is over, so I can actually write some JavaScript instead.
Yeah. So I could show like actually implementing this clock with CSS as well in Imba, and I think it should hopefully take more than 5 minutes. I might be a bit ambitious there, but yeah.
Let's
And
do
looking
it.
at your original, I took a quick look at your original clock in JavaScript from 8 months ago or something, and it would be very nice to compare the code bases after that. But yeah,
let's do that.
yeah. So I have tried to share my screen. I'm not sure if you
Go
can
ahead.
toggle
Yep.
to that. Leanne, are you toggling
Yep.
to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I only have one screen here now, so I can't see you, but I can
Yeah.
definitely
Could
hear
you just zoom in a little bit?
I can at least change just the font size of the editor. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideal.
So this was the base tag I think you started with as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start without anything inside, and if you do here like div clock, which is just a regular tag, it's at 0 d flex j center. As we talked about like display flex and JA, it's justify and align items and content. So it's just a complete. It combines all of them. It actually combines two properties that are relatively new instances. It combines place items and place content, which is themselves like aliases for justify and align. An instance, so this essentially just makes sure the app is stretched, filling the whole viewport, which is the window, and then centering the content. So inside of here, we have this clock. Instead of using a regular tag, I'm going to create a custom tag for that, like tag clock self, and I'm going to do div dial minutes, seconds, hour.
And so dial is
And we're
just a
gonna do-
CSS class.
Yeah.
I see.
I wouldn't need that. So I could style them individually. So first, let's say that I'm just doing inline styles now for now. So I'm going to do size 80 view widths and BGC gray just for now. RD full, which is the full, and D flex JA center. And all of the dials, since they will share a lot of things, I'm not going to do inline styles repeating all of it. So I can just do an inline CSS selector for all the elements scoped inside of this tag here that matches this selector. So since these has the class names dial, I'm going to just do CSS dial. I'm going to do pos absolute. Top. Do I need to set that? I don't need to set that actually. I just think I should need to do this, and I'll do that. Left top 50%. I'm going to remove the text from these, and here I'm going to do width. How much is that? Like 40 view. It's new. So the lowest one will be the hour. So that's going to be, isn't that the shortest? And the minute is. Yeah. I'm going to do a minute and then the seconds. So all of them should be like height 4 pixels something, BG red, just to make sure that works.
Nice.
Let's rotate one of them with like 35 degrees and one with 15 degrees. You see that they rotate, but they rotate around like the center of the element. And that's because the default is that transform origin is at the center. So if you do origin 0%, and I guess it's 50% because if it's 4 high, we want to do the origin at the leftmost position, but 50% down. Because you can see if we do it 0, 0, and the height is really high, you will see they are actually like rotating on their from their top. So just going to do blue 4, BG blue 3, and BG blue 6, just to show the differences. So when we do origin 50, no, this is the syntax. We're actually rotating them from the correct place, and we do height 4. No, that was the correct thing. Yeah. So now we have these. They're just rotated at a static position, right? And this is where it might go a tiny bit wrong because I don't remember all the math. But let's say we have date now. So date now returns like the total amount of milliseconds since 1970 something. And if we do would it be rotate TS? I'm just trying to figure out. So this is the seconds. I'm going to do on this app here, I'm going to do auto render. 60 FPS. That means it's going to update.
Whoa, hang on a second. What is that
and you'll
auto
see-
render?
Huh?
What's that auto render property?
Auto render is just essentially saying that it's going to try to re-render this tag and all its children at 60 frames per second. So 1 FPS is going to update once every second. But as you can see, this thing is representing it's going a full round in 1 second. So this is
Nice.
essentially a millisecond timer. So I guess what we'll need to do is this.
And times are first-class citizens in Imba, so you can talk about them in milliseconds or in seconds, or so you can add that to the literal itself.
Now I think didn't it look like we actually had a sort of a working second element? I think, or is it going way too slow?
I don't think it's going.
It's going. Yeah, it's definitely.
Oh no,
moving here.
is it? Yeah. Oh, it's a smooth tick,
But
not fast
say-
enough.
Just see. So what would be we're gonna do?
Yeah, so in JavaScript, we're writing it in vanilla. We're basically
You
setting.
created a yeah. But
We're
maybe if I-
redrawing a
do you
clock
have the
every
code?
second.
Do you have the code for that somewhere, like to see the actual way
Yeah.
converted, like the
Yeah.
milliseconds?
Yeah. So you can just grab the numbers from there, so it doesn't take too long. I think
In
I
a
sent it
repository or
I sent it to you, yeah, on Slack.
send it to you.
Well, I could have
to
just,
me.
yeah. Okay, there you go.
So I can you can continue talking on, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, basically, like it's just the JavaScript maths. But do tell us about was it the time is first class citizen?
Yeah.
Imba.
And so you can both reason and time, but then that also gives you FPS. And one of the things that is really useful for is being able to have them interact with each other. So being able to like divide one like unit by a different one, or kind of talk in the type of unit that you would like. And so if you go to base syntax on the left hand side there, and then maybe share screen.
Yeah,
No.
look.
Then we can take a look at a couple of the additions, if you will. So we have literals here, and they're the regular literals that you would find in JavaScript, and of course it transpiles to that, so it's pretty easy to get those. So you can see there are a few differences, like you get some additional choices. You can interpolate without the dollar squiggly brace. You can indent objects instead of having the curly braces around them, and you can technically also have an object that doesn't have curly braces around it on the same line, the also object above. But if we take a look at the next section, Imba literal types, then we get a couple of new ones like duration, and it's quite interesting to both reason about it in those terms as well as having the FPS ones. And FPS is really extra useful for the auto render, for example.
Interesting. So basically, you can you don't have to basically reach out for like datetime and stuff for all of those objects to actually work with time. You can, by the looks of it.
Yeah, and so this would you can use anything from npm, so you could use any package like that. But if you're really trying to reason about time, then you can express it in this way. And so if you want to interface with moment, for example, or what's the new one?
Temporal.
Yeah, so those ones you would need to specify what unit do you want to get out, for example. So if you take seconds to get out of a date, then you would want to use s, right, in the literal in Imba. Or if you're dealing with milliseconds, then you would do ms. And but it's just numbers, but a very comfortable way for numbers to interact with each other.
Fair enough. Okay, well, Sindre, are you happy with the clock time maths?
Not too happy, because I'm as you probably were. I get kind of confused with the rotations and the
Yeah, exactly.
moduling it and dividing to get the hours and the seconds right now. That was too bad. But if you let me see, let me share my screen again.
I think basically what we were doing at the time, we were like dynamically updating the CSS class. So basically, we were rendering the div, but every second we were rendering the div with slightly different values.
Yeah, but I guess that's kind of what. Are you seeing my screen again now?
So let's share. Yeah, now we're looking at it.
Minutes, hours, just to. So we have the three. I tried to change it up so that they're actually like on top instead. So they start at 0. So if you see here, if I do rotate 45 degrees or 90 degrees, this should essentially go around like, so I'm using degrees. It's much better to use turns, I guess, because turns is an actual CSS property for rotation.
Is it?
Is it not like turn?
Today I learned.
Turn, yeah.
Whoa.
So that's much better for our clock, I think. So for the turns, then I think it should be like TS.
This is this is the kind of thing I experience.
And if I do not this, it's actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the kind of thing I often experience working with Imba day to day. Is that you end up actually learning the depths of CSS itself. Because here in the framework, I would reach for like the clock component that someone else made, or a way to do like clock rotations or something in a package. But it turns out that today I learned that that's something that you can do in really native CSS.
Oh wow! Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm still struggling to understand why this doesn't work, and I'm probably just confusing. So you have the timestamp. It's based on milliseconds. So if you
so maybe you would auto render with 60 FPS, and that would be a little bit easier to reason about.
No, I don't want that to represent the second. That's the exact. That's correct. I wanted to represent the minute. So. Now I'm just trying stuff. Yeah, this finally this is correct. Yeah, so we'll make that the basic. So let's divide that by 60,000 instead. So then we're down to showing that's the second counter, and then we have rotate. The minute should be. Shouldn't that just be the same? Yeah, that looks right. If you look at the clock now and what it should be, I guess.
Yeah, 28.
So an hour is 60 minutes again. No, was that right?
What time zone is this?
I think you need to divide that by 24. So the last one.
Yeah, well, clearly. I say clearly, and obviously that's wrong. No, 12, isn't it?
12.
It's kind of confusing.
What time is it?
Confusing and embarrassing.
But this is what, UTC?
But I don't know. It's local time, like.
Is it?
I don't know the calculation, so I can't give the
So
reason
right now
for my
I would have been
answer.
like console log date. But now.
But I think it's 720. So I think you want like the second rotation you'll want.
So then it probably is UTC, I guess.
I think it is, because current time UTC is 14:29, which is what that is.
Yes.
We'll
so
say it.
Just gotta hack and say that my time is 2 hours. 2 hours more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're gonna add 2 hours. It's like 260. Isn't it in minutes now? I get way too confused here.
You've added 2 twice, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think this
One,
is at least this is your styled clock example. It was not very. We didn't get there in a too elegant way, but at least I think it shows some of the concepts that you can do things relatively quickly, and you can do the styling inline. Obviously, if you think this doesn't look clean at all, it's very easy to change it up and even do the styling in a completely different file. Or we can say that it's like we can easily move those out, right, and say CSS. Let's say just do CSS. S. So now you're just adding CSS names for these classes, and then you do dot s and age. Maybe you want to reuse them somewhere else, right? So now they all have the same color for some reason. That's because I've set a background color on dial as well, and since it's a more specific selector because it's scoped at a deeper level. So this overrides the outer styles. And I guess I could do here as well if I want to do that. Just do aged and then do all of these styles here as well. If I wanted to sort of clean it up further. Maybe I want here to be rows too, which is blue. And now this is a component that you can obviously reuse. So instead of now they're sized 80 viewport heights. So if I instead size them like 30 or something, these are and I need to do plus absolute or relative actually. Relative makes more sense here.
Whoa, twin clocks.
And these.
Yeah, and in fairness, all the time was spent on the calculation part. I feel like all of the other setup, everything was very fast, and I feel like we probably would have spent the same time in any other language in the calculation part.
But it's still, so the calculation is just calculation. That's me being a noob, not easily visualizing the amount of seconds and whatever. But it's obvious that this, to me, is kind of second nature, but it seems obvious just looking at you trying it out. There is a long way to go when it comes to documentation. And in the beginning, I think you need the tooling to help you with these shorthand aliases and stuff if you really want to utilize them.
I think it's also that part of that magic of having the auto render on one FPS. Because instead, in the code in vanilla, if you want to share your screen, we basically have to reach out for it, set timeouts and stuff. So we basically have to do it all. Like you get the hours, you create transforms and stuff, and we update the styles as they go.
Look at it.
Because we have to redraw it with an interval that we set ourselves, and then we update all of that. So it's kind of like there is a lot of heavy lifting that's already done through just auto render. Like, just redraw this.
But if you can go back to my screen again. To be honest, like what auto render does under the hood. Do you see my screen? Since I can't see anything else. So if I remove this, obviously this will be dead. Nothing is happening here. What auto render essentially does is that it calls render on app many, like the amount of times you set. So having the self tag at the top level is essentially just a shorthand for defining the render method without any arguments. So whenever you will call render here on this app, it will visit every node inside of the render, and all of the renderings, like nested renderings, will happen. So if I actually let app, I add a reference to the app here, and you see like set timeout and then set interval, do 500 and app render. I just forcefully call render.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been looking
Then
forward to
that's
showing
happening.
this, Sindra, where you have the
Yeah.
and then you get to put the function at the end. So essentially, it's just a marker saying, "Hey, I don't want to type the whole function here because that would mess up with the parentheses and everything."
Yeah.
And so that means you get to put the function after. So you get to do like the tailing function as the
Yeah,
argument, which becomes very
Yeah.
comfortable. Same
Yeah.
in the documentation.
Look at him go.
Yeah.
Very, very nice work.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. I'm actually properly sold on doing that free Scrimba Imba course now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another flawless segue from Michael.
Yay. Yes, that is the course that I will be now doing.
Yes.
That is properly impressed. That was really good.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Yin-Shu today sent a letter of resignation to the current employer. Road to becoming Yin-Shu from Scrimba can begin. Way. Brilliant. Good luck with that. Bob Zerell says, turn. First time I'm ever hearing of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Although I feel like I have heard of it before and had the same reaction then. But thank you for reminding me, Sindra, of turn. And welcome.
You're
back
welcome.
to Safe Marie. Well,
Cool.
that was very enlightening, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
That was epic. And thank you very much, Sindra.
Totally sold.
No
on
problem.
Imba.
Thank you.
Come on, everyone.
Yeah.
Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe because you never know when we're going to be streaming next. Yes. Any closing thoughts from any of you?
Even though Imba is a new language, I feel like the more you learn Imba, the more you learn the web. And I think that is a really great takeaway for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
The
we
CSS dogs are just right there.
just demonstrated that. Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for watching. See you again very soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.
See ya.